Greetings, Plymouth. Pastor Marta here. This is the staff reflection for this week. It is Monday morning, the Sunday after the third Sunday in the season of Advent, which was joy. Here we are 1 week before Christmas. It's just coming so quickly. I'm glad to be with you in this way, and I wanted to just give you a couple of resources that helped me put my sermon together yesterday. The first one is this book called Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is my daughter's hard copy. I'm actually listening to it on Audible, so it's also available in that way. And I think that I'm enjoying it. It's good. It's helpful information. I did a little bit different things with it in my sermon, but I think that you'll get a kick out of the book if you're interested in diving deeper into the idea of those micro habits, those tiny little habits that make a huge difference in the world. The other resource I wanted to tell you that you're going to be less likely to dive into, but a few people asked, was the idea of when I was talking about ritualizing relationships. I got it from the scholar Marjorie Proctor Smith, and it was out of this book called Women at Worship: Interpretation of Northern American Diversity. And this book is pretty old. The copyright is in 1993, but there are some interesting nuggets. I do have it in my own library. So if you're interested in looking at it more deeply, I certainly have that and wanted to give you an update on those two resources from my sermon. The other thing that I wanted to tell you about was the Jesus Has Left the podcast that me and my friend Mandy co-host, and we have for the last few years. It has a new season coming out in the new year called Altered States, because now we are both out of Colorado Springs. I am here in Fort Collins, Colorado, and Mandy is in a very tiny town in Lindsborg, Kansas. And we have chosen a few guests from each of our new geographical places that we will be highlighting in the new year. And I want to tell you about the guests from Fort Collins because I'm pretty excited about it. First, we have Lisa Seal. She was here in November at our forum, and she's from Buffalo Youth Nation, where she talks about her work on the reservation and her growing up years, and a little bit what she's doing with her grassroots nonprofit, Buffalo Youth Nation, and how she supports children on the reservation. The second person we had, I'm looking at my list a little bit, is Reverend Felicia Smith Gray Beal from St. Paul's Episcopal. They're doing and they have been doing a little bit of some radical ministry in the world. They sold their building. They have some cash. They are worshiping and living with several other congregations. And so I wanted to share their story because I know the mainline church in America is definitely in this transitional disruptive place, and she is leading this congregation to do some really cool things. The third guest I have is Reverend Melissa St. Clair and her associate, Reverend Wendy Davison, came on. They're from Heart of the Rockies, Disciples of Christ congregation here in Fort Collins, to specifically talk about Heartside Hill, where they sold some of their church land and are creating this alternative community around the church. Also doing some radical work in ministry and making some really hard choices about their real estate and their property and serving their neighbors in this really creative and fun way. So we also tell that story. And lastly, we have Queen, and she also brings on one of her activist friends. Queen is from the community here that nests in our congregation. Black community activists talk about their work in the larger community, and she also talks about her grassroots nonprofit, New Eyes Village. And so I am excited about these episodes coming out. You can access all of our episodes at jesushasleftthebuilding.com, JHTLB.com. And you can see all the episodes there, but also for the last few years, they're all available on Spotify and Apple Podcast or wherever you find podcasts. So I just wanted to give you an update on these really cool things that we are doing here in Fort Collins and telling those stories. As always, if you want to connect with me, I love to have coffee and tea. So don't hesitate to reach out to me, cell phone, text, or email. And I hope that you find some peace and some light and some joy in this 1 week before Christmas. See you later.